The morning the sun sneezed, the whole neighborhood gave a tiny wobble. Light popped like a pancake flipping in the sky, and shadows did the funniest thing. They started swapping places. Tree shadows tiptoed onto bicycles and rode off with creaky bells. Bench shadows jumped straight into teacups and slurped polite steam. Puddles that usually only showed pancake clouds began to giggle and wobble, singing quiet little splashes. Nori's own shadow turned around and walked backward, as if practicing a silly dance. Nori watched from the sidewalk, hoodie sleeves flopping far past the paws. The hedgehog's puzzled grin turned into a determined grin. This was a problem that needed a giggle and a plan. A little paper map lay at Nori's feet, its corners curled like a smile. The map's face was drawn with tiny eyes and a big grin. Every time Nori stepped, the map tickled the paw that pressed it and pointed a new direction with a comic wiggle. "Follow the tickle map!" And off they went. First stop was Mrs. Teacup's library. Mrs. Teacup had a teacup on her head by mistake, and her books were whispering to each other. A bench shadow had hopped into a real teacup and was curling up for a nap. Oh dear, was I reading a cat, or was the cat reading me? She handed Nori a book that had lost its shadow. The words in it looked a little pale without it. Nori hummed a tune and tapped the book. The book's shadow sneezed back into place like it had been missing its shoes. Mrs. Teacup clapped her hands, forgot why she clapped, then clapped again because clapping is fun. Outside, Juno the cat was sleeping on a post with one ear flopped down. Juno's shadow had borrowed the lamppost and stuck on a long, twirly tail. Every time Juno twitched in a dream, the lamppost did a tiny pirouette. Nori giggled and gave Juno a gentle poke. Juno opened one sleepy eye, saw the lamppost wagging a tail, and promptly rolled over. A loose shadow hat on a nearby bench sprouted a shadow mustache and tipped itself like a gentleman. The wobble wheel scooter sat in a garden patch, humming like it had eaten too many bugle flowers. Nori climbed on, and the scooter announced, in a creaky, proud voice, "I am here to roll and tell terrible jokes." Every wobble came with a joke so bad it made the hedgehog chuckle. Why did the shadow go to school? To learn its right from its left. It wobbled in a so bad it's good giggle. The scooter and Nori zipped past rooftop gardens, where mint and raspberry splashes dotted the sky. They met a choir of puddles, tiny rounds of water that giggled in perfect chime. Each puddle had its own sound: plink, ploop, blip. When Nori and the scooter stepped near, the puddles sang a line that sounded like a question, and their reflections answered with a tiny hiccup. "Which way to Pancake Hill?" The puddles answered in rhythm, plink, plop, plink, and pointed their ripples toward the hilltop. It was the only hill that looked like a stack of warm pancakes, and the shadows there were doing cartwheels like they had all the time in the world. As Nori rode, silly changes happened. A lamppost borrowed a cat's tail of shade and used it to wave at passers-by. A child's hat picked up a shadow mustache and fancied itself a pirate. A mailbox swapped its shadow with a bicycle bell, and the bell rang with a deep, echoing silhouette. Each swap made the neighborhood look even funnier, but it also left a small, wobbling ache. Something important was misplaced. At the top of Pancake Hill, the biggest shadow sprawled in the sunlight. It was floppy and long, and looked like it was practicing cartwheels. It had no owner nearby, just a great shadow doing somersaults by itself, grinning in shade. Nori's map wriggled and pointed a very serious tickle toward the shadow. "Hello!" The big shadow paused mid-cartwheel and plopped down into a perfect shadow sitting pose. "Who are you?" The shadow did a little flip and made a sound that felt like a tickle. It loved to tumble. It loved to hide behind doors and practice shadow jokes, like, "Why did I cross the path? To get to my other self." It was having so much fun that it had forgotten to be a shadow for anyone in particular. Nori chased the shadow across the hill. The chase was full of pratfalls. Nori slipped on a laugh, tumbled into a puddle that giggled, and came out wet but smiling. The big shadow cartwheeled away and left a trail of tiny shadow giggles. Nori stopped, sat down, and thought of the map's tickles. If their footprints were a kind of music, maybe laughter could be the song to bring order back. Nori cued the wobble wheel scooter and the pigeons, whispered to the giggling puddles, and gave a wink to Mrs. Teacup and Sleepy Juno. "Music! A silly, sticky, wiggly song! Clap, clap, stomp, laugh, laugh, hop!" Everyone copied. Mrs. Teacup clapped with her teacup. Juno batted a sleepy paw in time, and the map tickled Nori's toes to keep the beat. With each laugh and clap, a shadow found its way back. The big, cartwheeling shadow slowed, then curled into a neat shape. A tree shadow marched back to its tree like a parade returning home. The lamppost returned the cat's tail and stood up very straight. The hat took off its shadow mustache and giggled as it did. Little shadow hiccups popped into place like tiny stars clicking on. By the time the last note of the song fizzled into the minty sky, every shadow was beside its owner. The neighborhood felt snug again, like a sweater buttoned right. The pancake clouds reflected 100 smiling faces. Nori rubbed wet paws on the too big hoodie and grinned the grin that fixed small troubles. Mrs. Teacup patted a teacup on her head to keep it from wandering off, and Juno yawned the largest, sleepiest yawn. Mistakes can be mended with a smile, a helper, and a tune everyone can clap along to. When things wobble and giggle the wrong way, a bright laugh and a clever rhythm can set the world right again.